Next July, the Maracana Stadium in Rio will erupt at the final of the 2014 World Cup. Which teams will face off there?
Hey, Bastian, come here. I have a riddle for you.
Will Germany finally win the big prize again? Or will the legendary trophy be raised by the hosts?
Brazilians are crazy about football.
They certainly are. The steady hand in the Seleção midfield should know. In Brazil, the passion starts in the cradle.
The first thing parents say when a boy is born is, he's going to play for the Seleção.
Everyone's dreaming 6 months before the World Cup finals begin. Writers, fans, players. Kickoff takes a look at the pain, prayers, and laughter of the upcoming World Cup.
With just 6 months left until the World Cup finals, kickoff set off on the road to Rio. And we found the country's youngsters in a confident mood.
Brazil is going to win.
It'll be a walkover for the Seleção.
I'll cry tears of joy.
Just around the corner, it's still all about the Brazilian league. Vasco da Gama, a club rich in history, is fighting to escape relegation. We meet some fans waiting for them to take on Santos at the Maracanã.
Welcome to Força Jovem. We meet up here 3 to 4 hours before every match, and it's always a great party.
Most of the fans here are locals from the city's poor and northern districts. Força Jovem was set up over 40 years ago. It's more a family than a fan club, and it's also always been political.
I'm always torn between my social conscience and my love of football. On the one hand, the World Cup is a fantastic chance for Brazil to present its best side to the world. On the other, it's clear that the country's poor won't be invited to the World Cup party. The prices are too high.
How can you spend 350 million euros for a stadium? It's absurd. People are right to protest. What we need are hospitals and schools.
Tens of thousands of Brazilians have vented their anger about the cost of the tournament. The government is spending some 9 billion euros of taxpayers' money to put on the World Cup finals, including 3 billion for new stadiums alone. Professor Orlando Santos would prefer more sustainable investment. The prominent critic sees the World Cup as more of a curse than a blessing.
I think that the protests will continue because the problems haven't been solved. The projects the World Cup has spawned continue to have a negative impact on the lives of our citizens, and especially on the lives of the poor.
Brazil's chief World Cup organizer, Ricardo Trade, has been given 300 million euros and a free hand by FIFA. He says the protests are the responsibility of Brazilian authorities.
As they did during the Confederations Cup, together with the public security force from the state and the city, they keep the protesters far from the stadium, and inside the stadium we have an excellent spectacle, and that's the guarantee that they gave to FIFA in 2007.
In northern Rio, the protests seem a million miles away, just 2 hours to kick off.
Time to head to the stadium.
The route takes the members of Força Jovem through an area that most of next year's World Cup visitors certainly won't see. 600,000 foreign tourists are expected to attend the tournament, but they'll spend most of their time in the southern parts of the city, close to the city's famous Copacabana and Ipanema beaches. Mateus and his friends are looking forward to a game or two with some foreign visitors.
Brazil is the benchmark for football, but we also have a lot more to offer. The World Cup will be a great celebration of soccer, but at the same time we'll be able to show that there's a lot more to discover here.
And visitors will pay for the privilege. It's expected each tourist will spend about 300 euros a day in Rio. Everyone is hoping to profit, including beach hawker Felipe Souza. He's already figured out how he'll spend the extra cash.
I'm going to buy a moped and a house. I don't want to rent anymore. That's my dream.
While Felipe does one more round, there's just an hour before the game starts back at the Maracanã. Modernising the legendary stadium cost 350 million euros, 3 times more than originally budgeted. And where police often clashed with rowdy fans, more than 1,000 stewards are on duty to help spectators.
There's no comparing it to the old days. Now it's safe. You can bring your kids.
It's nice, comfortable, and well organized. Fantastic.
Forza Jovem arrive half an hour before kickoff, well in time for the action to begin. Vasco have problems from the opening whistle, and Santos quickly go up 2-0. The frustration is palpable. Then Vasco pull one back, and the south stand goes wild. At moments like these, it feels just like the old days, especially because tickets for today's match cost only around €3, the same as before the renovations. It's a close to capacity crowd, but since the facelift, the private sector organiser often charges €30 and upwards. That's far more than most fans can afford. It's a big issue for football journalist Rica Perrone on his radio chat show. Fans can call in to take part in the live show.
Prices that are 150% higher than they were for the final of the Copa Libertadores. That's insane. What are they thinking?
Perrone is talking about the record prices for tickets to the final of the Copa do Brasil. They start at €80, and that's a huge sum for most Brazilians.
In Brazil, football has an important social function. In the stadiums, there's no rich or poor, or white or black. Categories like that don't exist there. Everyone hugs each other, everyone's equal. But if it gets too expensive, the poor won't be able to go anymore. The atmosphere in the stadiums will be totally different. If that happens, then the World Cup will be bad for Brazil.
Back at the Maracanã, Vasco have equalised and hang on for a 2-2 draw. 1 point can't shake off the threat of relegation, but at least there are the World Cup finals to look forward to.
Playing at a World Cup is what every player dreams of. German clubs could be richly represented this time. Here's Kickoff's Bundesliga World Cup 11, featuring Warriors and Mavericks, stars, and a couple of surprises thrown in. In goal, for example, we have an Australian. Following the retirement of beloved veteran Mark Schwarzer, Mitchell Langerak is tipped to become the Socceroos' #1. He might only be second choice at Dortmund, but this man is no toothless watchdog. Wake up, Johan Giroud. The Switzerland defender will be hoping to avoid gaffes like this recent own goal at his club Hamburg. His bad luck was compounded by a groin injury a week later. Fortunately, Giroud seems to know how to relax and get fully fit to represent his country in Brazil. One man who always has been a rock in defense is Daniel van Buiten, all 1.97 meters of him. His explosive power has left its mark on the odd ball, too. The 35-year-old's energy and experience will be crucial as Belgium seek to live up to their growing reputation. Germany will be among the big-name favorites, of course, and those names don't get any bigger than skipper Philipp Lahm. Lahm is Mr. Dependable, whether at right back or holding midfielder. He's still looking for his first silverware with the German national team, however, not least to keep those demanding young fans happy. Javi Martinez is the third Bayern player in our World Cup 11. He won the treble in his first season in Munich. After playing only a minor role in Spain's world and European triumphs in 2010 and 2012, the midfielder has his heart set on a first-team place in Brazil. Japan would love nothing more than to bring home a first World Cup title. That's a tall order indeed, even harnessing the superb ball skills shown by Frankfurt's Takashi Inui out on the wing. But it never hurts to dream. This decorated Bundesliga warrior has dreams of his own. Schalke midfielder Kevin Prince Boateng will be playing for Ghana. Does he have just the right combination of aggression and leadership qualities? After the Black Stars' 6-1 win over Egypt in the qualifying rounds, we expect Boateng and Ghana to rock the boat in Rio. Rafael van der Vaart has lived for football all his life. So far, the Dutch superstar and Hamburg playmaker has collected 107 caps for the Orange. Definitely a member of our Dream 11. Up front, let's add boy wonder Heung-min Son. The 21-year-old striker is in top form at Leverkusen. And he has a huge number of fans in his home country of South Korea. Alongside him, we would place goal machine Vedat Ibisevic. He's put in 8 for Stuttgart so far this Bundesliga campaign and is one of 5 internationals from the Bosnia-Herzegovina team to play in the top German league. And there's one last slot on our Road to Rio Bundesliga International Dream Team, definitely dedicated to this week's guest on kickoff. Luis Gustavo has already landed a berth in Brazil. Wolfsburg's man in the middle is a key player for the Seleção. The holding midfielder is also a serious scoring threat up front. So here's a proper look at Kickoff's World Cup 11. All Bundesliga players looking to make their mark in Brazil next summer.
E aí, seleção? Bom dia.
I've come to Wolfsburg to meet my compatriot Luis Gustavo. He's one of 2 Brazilians in the Bundesliga who have a good chance of playing in the World Cup finals. But it's been a long, hard slog to get this far.
Gustavo's mother died when he was just 16. Shortly after, he moved to the other side of Brazil to play for Alagoano. Aged 19, he came to Hoffenheim as they made their ascent into the Bundesliga. He cemented his reputation as a fiery defensive midfielder at Bayern before signing for Wolfsburg in the summer of 2013.
O seu treinador, na sua segunda temporada em Hoffenheim, Ralf Rangnick, ele disse uma coisa muito interessante, de que você era o melhor volante da Bundesliga e que você lembrava ele o Bruce Willis, porque você não tinha medo de nada. É assim mesmo? Você é um cara que não tem medo de nada?
Eu sempre tive isso comigo, né? Sempre de não me omitir pelas coisas, pelas dificuldades, ou até mesmo ter receio pelas dificuldades, às vezes pelas coisas que acontecem na vida, né? Então, dentro de campo não é diferente. Eu procuro fazer o meu trabalho o melhor possível e às vezes isso corre algum risco, né? Algumas vezes tem que ir em algumas jogadas que às vezes é meio perigosa, assim, em termos de até mesmo de tomar cartão e essas coisas.
Mas esse seu lado guerreiro, que realmente é fácil de perceber, aonde que está a origem disso? É da família? É da dificuldade em Alagoas?
Cara, isso já vem de mim, assim, eu acho que é de família mesmo, sabe? Meu pai sempre batalhou muito, tudo, minha mãe também, minha avó, meus familiares todos, e eu sempre fui muito independente, assim, desde pequeno. E quando eu fui para Alagoas, depois da perda da minha mãe, que me amadureceu bastante também, e cheguei lá e vivi várias situações, aquilo foi me ajudando, onde eu falo que tinha sempre 2 opções, ou eu me abateria ou eu evoluiria com aquela situação.
Você faz 3 anos e meio muito bons no Hoffenheim, e aí o próximo degrau indo para o maior clube da Alemanha, se a gente pode dizer assim. Essa época foi fundamental para você estar hoje na seleção brasileira?
Sim, sem dúvida. A minha transferência para o Bayern de Munique foi um dos fatores que me ajudou muito a chegar na seleção. E foram 2 anos e meio muito bons, onde pudemos aí conseguir coisas que que nenhum time tinha conseguido ainda no país, e isso me deixa muito feliz.
Você voltou da conquista com a seleção brasileira, Copa das Confederações, chegou no Bayern e o treinador, Pep Guardiola, preferiu 2 jogadores que vivem contundidos e um lateral esquerdo improvisado. Dá para entender isso?
Cara, cada um tem sua filosofia, né? Com ele não é diferente, ele é um treinador, pelo pouco tempo que eu fiquei lá, um treinador que entende muito de futebol, muito mesmo, e está mostrando aí com o Bayern de Munique atualmente. Vários amigos, companheiros que estiveram comigo na Copa das Confederações voltaram, renovaram o contrato ou chegaram valorizados no seu clube, e comigo foi diferente. Mas cada um tem sua história, cada um tem sua história de vida, e a minha é, vamos dizer, sempre foi assim.
Ficou alguma mágoa?
Não, cara, mágoa não ficou, cara. Mas ele tem suas decisões, ele tem suas opções, e ele preferiu por outros 2 jogadores, e eu tenho que respeitar, mas aceitar é difícil, mas às vezes acontecem coisas que a gente não espera, né?
Dá para dizer que você trocou o campeão europeu pelo 11º colocado da Bundesliga só pela Copa do Mundo?
Não, cara. Não, porque a gente tem objetivos aqui também. E tem grandes jogadores aqui também, como Diego, Naldo e os outros jogadores também. Então, é um projeto bom, é onde eu tinha que jogar também para continuar na seleção. Mas o principal de tudo não foi vir para cá só para jogar, foi também pela proposta do clube em chegar a conquistar objetivos que são bem ambiciosos.
Para o povo brasileiro ou para o povo estrangeiro que for para a Copa do Mundo, o que ele pode esperar do Brasil?
Cara, eu acho que um show assim, eu acho que inesquecível, acredito que será, porque o povo brasileiro é fanático por futebol, com certeza eles vão levar isso com muito respeito, eles vão fazer a festa da melhor forma possível. Acredito que tudo que acontece no Brasil não vai atrapalhar durante a Copa do Mundo, porque todas as pessoas sabemos o quão importante é assim uma competição, ainda mais no nosso país. Acredito que todo o povo vai receber, toda a população aí do mundo todo de braços abertos.
Você tem um medo ou uma preocupação, talvez, que daqui 20, 30 anos, quando lembrarem da conquista do hexacampeonato, que todo mundo lembre que Neymar jogou, que Oscar jogou, mas não vão lembrar quem é o melhor passador da equipe, quem limpou a área, quem deu 80% de passes certos?
Não, cara, eu sou tranquilo, deixa os outros fazerem o que o povo gosta, que é jogar futebol, dar drible, e deixa eu ali quietinho, ajudando, que eu já vou estar feliz em fazer parte desse, se Deus quiser, desse campeonato aí.
Germany versus Brazil, one of the classic fixtures in international football. But at this match on a local artificial pitch in Frankfurt, you'll search in vain for the likes of Neymar or Özil. The match will be battled out between teams of writers representing the 2 great footballing nations. The visitors are out of their element here in terms of both wet weather and performance. They're representing a nation where football has been elevated to an art form. Jogo Bonito, the beautiful game. And it's a game at which Brazil has been world champions a record 5 times. Pepe was in 2 of those World Cup winning teams in 1958 and 62. Today, he's coach of the Brazilian literary squad.
The first thing parents will say when a child is born is, "He'll play for Brazil one day." That says a lot about the importance of the game for the country.
The game was introduced to the country by Charles Miller, a Brazilian of British descent. He brought 2 footballs and a rule book with him on his return from England in 1894. Just 1 year later, the first official match on Brazilian soil. A team representing the Sao Paulo Railway Company won 4-2 against the city gas works. The rest is history. Football has become an integral part of Brazil's identity and national pride. This year's Frankfurt Book Fair had Brazilian writers in the spotlight. We went looking for literary insights into the country's obsession with football. One of the hot books at the fair was this anthology of 16 football-related stories from Brazil, covering the magic and the disappointment. That includes personal insights from the game as it's played on the streets. Traditionally, football was not celebrated greatly in Brazilian literature. But many of the stories reveal how difficult it has always been to ignore soccer mania in the country. Adriana Lisboa's story references her experiences growing up.
The chubby girl and her friend took the ball and went outside. They'd been on the street for half an hour and were kicking the ball about when the two boys turned up. They leaned against the street lamp. The girls squinted at them out of the corners of their eyes, thrust forward their breasts, and laughed in a strategic attempt to appear seductive. The long-legged one's football talent became representative of everything that is beautiful and desirable. Then the chubby one gave the ball a hard kick, and it landed exactly where both girls wanted it to be, at the boys' feet. Yet they, with utter insolence and no trace of timidity, simply snatched it up and ran down the street. The fascinating thing for me is the talent for improvisation that has always distinguished our big players. The ability to conjure up great moments in tricky situations. There have been so many such moments in the history of Brazilian football. Times do change, of course, but for us, football still represents something innocent, simple and spontaneous. We see it as a form of art.
And on that front, few players can match the artistry of the football world's first superstar, Pele, regarded as the ultimate Brazilian footballer. And for Pepe and many others, the greatest player of the 20th century. Pelezinho, the popular cartoon character of the 70s and 80s based on young Pele, is now making a triumphant comeback. Its creator, famous Brazilian cartoonist Mauricio de Souza, remembers the living legend's original reaction.
I brought him a sketch of Pelezinho like this one here. He said, "No, I thought you were going to draw me as a superhero." So I told him to show it to his children and let them decide whether they prefer his or the superhero. When he came back the next day, he just said, "Okay, you knew they'd go for this version."
Pelezinho himself became a huge star in Brazil in a series of adventures where he'd solve problems with the ball at his feet.
Pele came from a poor background but had an aim. He was totally committed, training till he dropped, until he made it as a professional. And he became the greatest player of all time. That's why he represents Brazil. A land full of opportunities for everyone who has a dream or a goal and is prepared to work for it. Having that determination in Brazil is already on the road to success.
Back at the International Writers' Match, the winner this time around is Germany. The hosts were 9-1 runaway victors, although the Brazilians could at least cite jet lag. It was all smiles and signatures afterwards, though. Coach Pepe is far more confident about Brazil's chances at the real thing when hosting the World Cup next year.
I was 15 the last time the World Cup was in Brazil in 1950. I was there. And for me, Brazil are the favorites next year. The main thing is that they play a good tournament.
The 1950 World Cup in Brazil left deep wounds in the country's collective football psyche. The Seleção lost in the final at Maracanã Stadium. Will this World Cup see closure?
Every player dreams of playing in the World Cup, and for us Brazilians, it will be even more special because it's happening in our country.
Vou torcer pro time que sou fã. Vou levar foguetes e bandeira, não vai ser de brincadeira, ele vai ser campeão. Eu vou de cadeira numerada, que está na arquibancada pra sentir mais emoção. Porque meu time bota pra perder, e o nome deles são vocês quem vão dizer.
Ah, tem bastante.
I dream a lot.
Eu sonho bastante.